Hello again. Welcome back. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the Bill of Rights and how our founders and the Americans at the time felt like we needed some amendments to make sure that our rights and freedoms were protected. So today we're going to talk about probably the most famous amendment, which is the First Amendment. And what the First Amendment does is it protects our rights and it limits the power of the government. So it protects our rights and it limits, I'm going to put GOV for government power. So it limits their control over us. It protects our rights. The First Amendment protects basic freedoms. And you're going to think when we talk about some of these today, well, that's silly. Why do we need to say that should be protected? But the reason is there's some countries that don't have these basic freedoms protected. And our founding fathers wanted to make sure that we would always have those protected. So that's why it was put in the Bill of Rights. It was the very first one to make sure that these things are protected. Okay. So, let's see. It protects the freedom of expression. And all of these really are, they go along with the freedom of expression. All of these are going to go and fall underneath this freedom of expression. And this just means that we are, as Americans, we're free to think and say our opinions. Some countries you can't do that. Some countries the government will put you in prison or even hurt you if you think and say things that they don't agree with. Think and say your opinion. So we are very fortunate that we live in a country that protects that. Okay. So here we go. Let's talk about the things that the First Amendment protects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have 5 different colors. Perfect. All right. And these, well, I'll talk about this later. Okay. So, one of those things is the freedom of religion. So the First Amendment protects our freedom of religion, which means that we are free to practice the religion of our choice. In some countries, you have to practice the religion the government chooses. Free to practice the religion of choice. So we can choose which religion we want to practice. We can choose if we don't want to practice the religion. Free to practice the religion of choice. That is our freedom, and it is protected underneath the First Amendment. We have the right to petition. Now, what this means is we can ask the government for changes if we don't agree with something. Okay. I'm going to put GOV again if you want to write out government, if that'll help you. Ask government for changes. And another thing this allows us to do is to address government officials. So if we feel like something needs to be changed, we can go talk to our government official and let them know what we think needs to be changed. Okay, Next one is the freedom of press. And what this means is we are allowed to publish or advertise information freely. Some countries you can't do this. Some countries the government will limit what you're allowed to put on TV or put in the newspaper. Our government has our country has the freedom of press so that we can publish things, information freely. Okay, next let's do right of assembly. Remember when you had an assembly when you were in like brick and mortar school? When you all go to the cafeteria or the auditorium? Same thing. An assembly is when people gather. So the right of assembly says that people can gather peacefully. That's a big thing. Has to be peaceful. They can't be there trying to beat up people in groups. But we're allowed to gather in groups to peacefully discuss or protest or whatever. As long as that's peaceful, we can be in groups. Okay. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech means that people can express their thoughts and feelings verbally. People can express their thoughts and opinions. Now, this doesn't mean that I can go out. Oh, I spelled wrong. Maybe that's what happens when I start talking while I'm writing. This doesn't mean I can go out and start like bad-mouthing and saying things that are not true about other people. But I can go ahead and express my thoughts and opinions without being afraid that I'm going to get in trouble for doing that. Okay. If you would like to learn more about our First Amendment, you go to Gallipade. In Gallipade, Lesson 8.2 talks about the First Amendment. Okay. All right. Once you are ready, we're going to go over to our social studies, and we are going to complete 3.27, the First Amendment. There are some examples on this one, so you need to choose which one of our freedoms is being protected by the First Amendment from the examples. Okay, super job, superstars. See you next time.